Who created God? There is a common counter-argument to a common Christian argument out there. The Christian argument is often misrepresented as everything needs to have a cause, and therefore the universe needs to have a cause. The counter-argument is then, well, where did God come from? If everything has to have a cause, then God needs to have a cause. The problem is that this is not the Christian argument at all. In reality, the Christian argument does not say that everything that exists needs to have a cause, but that everything that begins to exist has to have a cause. The Kalam cosmological argument states, 1. Everything that begins to exist must have a cause. In other words, things don't just pop into existence uncaused. And 2. The universe began to exist. It is now known and accepted by the scientific community that the universe began to exist. The first law of thermodynamics says that matter and energy cannot be created or destroyed, only changed. This ironically coincides with the first part of the Kalam argument. Anything that begins to exist has to have a cause. The second law of thermodynamics tells us that the universe is going from a state of order to disorder, and the energy wears down. This ironically coincides with the second part of the Kalam argument, because if the universe is wearing down, it suggests that it had a beginning in the finite past. God, of course, is not subject to natural law, because he is a supernatural being. In other words, since God exists outside of nature, he is not subject to the laws which he has created. Everything else in creation is subject to his laws, but God himself exists outside of the natural laws. God is subject to his own moral laws, because he is good. However, God does not have to obey the laws of gravity, of thermodynamics, of genetics, etc. Because God is the one who created them in the first place. And God has the power to override these laws using supernatural methods. Scientific law only deals with things that are absolute, when only natural methods are what is considered. The counter-argument that God needed a cause does not hold, because God did not begin to exist. God exists outside of time, and therefore does not need a beginning. And since he exists outside of time, he cannot have a beginning. To God, all of time is laid out like a line on a piece of paper in front of him. Not only that, but he sees us and he loves us. As the Bible said all along, time itself and all of creation had a beginning, and unlike the false gods of many of the world's religions, the Lord exists outside of time and does not need a beginning. But of the Son he says, "Your throne, O God, is forever and ever. The scepter of uprightness is the scepter of your kingdom. You have loved righteousness and hated wickedness. Therefore God, your God, has anointed you with the oil of gladness beyond your companions. And you, Lord, laid the foundation of the earth in the beginning, and the heavens are the work of your hands. They will perish, but you remain. They will all wear out like a garment. Like a robe you will roll them up. Like a garment they will be changed. But you are the same, and your years have no end. And to which of the angels has he ever said, 'Sit at my right hand, until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet. Hebrews chapter 1, verses 8 through 13. God has made himself evident in nature. And what we have seen from what has been created, we have to say that there is God. But here's the real test. Other religions, even though I hate calling Christianity a religion, other religions view their deity as something distant, some distant God somewhere in some distant palace. Christianity says God came down here to earth because he loved you and wanted to be with you. And he knew that just as a man cannot walk from earth into space, man could not get to God on his own. We need God, and we need his Son to come. He's a creator and redeemer of all things. Come to him today. He loves you, and he wants to be your Father, for you to be his child. If the Bible is able to tell us so much truth about science, thousands of years in advance, then surely the words from the old Sunday school song ring true. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong, for they are weak, but he is strong.